look at the majority of Trump's cabinet, right? So immediately after they run on, getting rid of DEI and appointing Elon Musk, to head DOGE and go after government spending and find us so much money. Immediately after they do that, they appoint Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. What qualifies him to be Secretary of Defense? What his time in the National Guard, becoming a lieutenant? What about Kristi Noem? What qualifies her to run Department of Homeland Security? Who else? What about Kash Patel? What qualifies him to run the FBI? All these things, we're talking about DEI, we're talking about making sure that you're qualified for the job, having the best people for the job and things like that. Oh, by the way, can't forget RFK and, Department of Health. Miss me with all that. Like, it's obviously there's a greater purpose. Again, y'all can read between the lines. I'm not going to give you my whole conspiracy theory.
All right.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Trey.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Back at it with another video.
Another one.
Today we're going to be reacting to a video by Really American, going over the recent news surrounding this, the DOGE staffers, depositions, and just a whole bunch about the, MAGA obsession with DEI and the lack of education around DEI, and how it just became one of the first targets of this new administration. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the video.
DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year. When you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think.
No, you don't think, and that's the whole problem.
I forget, guys, the dude's name, but you can see how defeated he is. He's just like, I know it was a Jubilee surrounded episode. He's just like, all right, what's the timer at? Like, when am I gonna get to talk to somebody else? Because this is over with.
And it's one thing for some mega internet troll there to not have any idea what DEI programs actually are. But what if somebody that Trump and DOGE put in place to cancel DEI grants literally cannot explain what DEI is? This guy probably can't even spell it. I've got shocking new video of a legal deposition over a DEI lawsuit where the DOGE bro in charge of flagging those grants for termination literally cannot explain what DEI is, and is both shocking and pathetic. I mean, seriously, the level of stupidity in his answer is off the charts. So we'll get into it right after.
Yeah, I've watched the deposition a couple of times. Like, he didn't even mention diversity, equity, and inclusion one time. Like, when they asked him, like, so what's your understanding of it now? He could have repeated back the words and kind of, everybody's like bullshitted an answer before, right? You'd think he would go with that and just create his own answer based off of the words in the title. But yeah, he didn't even go there with it. It was very, very bad. Obviously, he has no idea what he was doing. It's a shame.
You hit subscribe to Really American Media right here on YouTube, and please go find us on Substack as well. All right, now let me just first say that it's no wonder the mega types can't explain what DEI is, because you have elected officials like this asshat that just want to muddy the waters and make a boogeyman out of diversity.
You know what DEI really stands for? Dumb, evil indoctrination. Woke liberals spew it, corporate losers fall for it. But thanks to Trump, America is rejecting that trash. And I'm leading the fight to end it for good. I'm Andy Barr. It's not a sin to be white. It's not against the law to be male. And it shouldn't be disqualifying to be a Christian.
Yeah, that's Congressman Andy Barr from...
Again, demonizing DEI. Like, it's not a sin to be white. It's not a crime to be male, and it's not a crime to be a Christian. DEI has nothing to do with demonizing any of those things, or making any of those things illegal or whatever. Like, it's not negative to any of the groups that he chose to highlight. But again, if you're uneducated and you're just being spoon-fed your opinion and your view on things, you just walk around not even knowing what the hell DEI is. And, hey, I saw a commercial about it once.
Kentucky standing strong against discrimination of white male Christians, while he's simultaneously demonizing DEI as dumb, evil indoctrination, which is ironic since he is literally trying to indoctrinate dumb, evil people into hating something they can't define. And while that might be funny, ironic, and ultimately pathetic, when Trump tasked Elon Musk and his chainsaw with dismantling DEI programs, it had real-world consequences against women, minorities, and gay people, not to mention everyone else, including those poor white male Christians.
The department is highlighting more DEI cuts in the federal government. DOGE now posted this list breaking down the total number of DEI contracts, and there are a lot. All of this just as they're trying to save taxpayer dollars. In all, DOGE says it has cut nearly.
And just in case, by contracts, those are all employees. All employees. So all these numbers, if we were to go through and just slowly, count them all up, those are all employees that were working at the time, blah, blah, blah. And yes, so as far as government employees and contracted employees that work for the government and things of that nature, could there have been some cuts? I mean, I imagine that there were certain redundancies in place, and there could have been some cuts to personnel or whatever the case may be. But obviously, the way they went about it, there was no rhyme or reason. It was just like, hey, if it sounds like, if it's at all DEI in the title, which, I've seen that in the deposition as well. DEI is in the title, or there's any way, shape, or form that it can be viewed as DEI adjacent, it's got to go. And I mean, when you're talking about people's jobs, people's careers, people's livelihoods, that's a real callous way to view. Yeah, if they were serving a purpose, if they were in a role, performing a job, and they were serving a purpose, then, that DEI shouldn't have anything to do with, just getting rid of that position for the sake of saving a few pennies. Because at the end of the day, as far as government spending goes, what we pay personnel, these personnel specifically, not that much.
300 contracts saving Americans more than $1.4 billion.
First of all, it didn't save Americans anything, and whatever dollars it did cut have already been blown in just the first few days of our war of choice in Iran, which is costing you and me about $1 billion a day. But I digress. Let's talk about how DOGE targeted that list of contracts you just saw scrolling down the screen. Meet Joe Fox, a former DOGE staffer who said his job was to flag grants for so-called DEI programs and send them up the old chain to get canceled under Trump's executive order, or EO, as you're going to hear him call it. Mr. Fox had to sit for a legal deposition for a lawsuit brought by the American Council of Learned Societies, the American History Association, and the Modern Language Association, who have been accusing DOGE of using AI, not humans, to flag these grants awarded to them by the NEH. So, the lawyer asked the human in charge, what is DEI, and what fallout is truly jaw-dropping?
How do you interpret DEI?
I think this is the sped up version.
There was the EO explicitly laid out the details. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's okay. I'm asking for your understanding of it.
Yeah, my understanding was exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay. So can you?
I don't remember what was in the EO.
So right now, do you have an understanding of what DEI is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding as you sit here today in this deposition?
Well, it was exactly what was written in the EO. And so anytime that we would look at a grant through the lens of complying with an executive order, we would just refer back to the EO and assess if this grant had relation to it.
Okay. But
again, he's specifically talking about grants and stuff like that. So his responsibility was to determine, whether a grant should be cut or not. Obviously has no idea what DEI is. And that's why he keeps just saying EO, EO, EO over and over again. It's like, hey, refer back to the document. Refer back to the original document. Okay, well, what was in that document that you based your whole criteria off of? The document.
I guess I'm stepping back from your methodology strictly in terminating the grants. Do you have an understanding as you sit here today of what DEI means?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding of what it means?
Well, it is exactly what was written in the EO.
So that's either the dumbest answer to a question I've ever heard or the most philosophical. I mean, the answer is exactly what the answer says it is. Who am I to define what the answer is? Oh. Wait, no. Now that I think about it, it's definitely the dumbest fucking answer ever. Oh, but wait. Somehow it gets worse.
Why is a documentary about Holocaust survivors DEI?
Objection.
It's discriminatory.
It's the gender-based story that's inherently discriminatory to focus on this specific group.
Right?
It's inherently discriminatory to focus on what specific group?
The gender-based, so females during the Holocaust.
And you believe it?
You see how he's like, wait, are you stupid? Like, are you dumb? Are you not understanding why it's DEI? Like, what's wrong with you?
That's inherently discriminatory?
I'm just saying that's what it's focused on.
Sure.
But this is related to DEI.
Right. But you just used the term inherently discriminatory. What did you mean by that?
It's focusing on DEI principles, gender being one of them.
So a documentary that's about women would be DEI.
Objection.
Is that fair to say?
No.
Okay. So tell me why what I just said isn't DEI, but what you just said is DEI.
Objection.
It's a Jewish, specifically focused on Jewish cultures, and
It's not a funny topic, so it's not good to let, but the gears are stuck in that one.
amplifying the marginalized voices of the females in that culture. It's inherently related to DEI for those reasons.
I mean, wow, he gave that answer under oath. It's DEI to talk about the Holocaust because it focuses on women. So not only does he not know what DEI is, but apparently he doesn't know what the fucking Holocaust is. And again, this man was in charge of flagging DEI grants for termination. I'm not a lawyer, but I think someone's about to lose that case. Perhaps DOGE should have put a smart black woman in charge of that initiative, because now they're going to waste even more of our tax dollars settling that lawsuit. But hey, this is what America voted for.
Programs like this are designed to make sure every American is represented when we are making policy in the federal government.
And I mean, I don't know why I got to keep saying it, or anybody has to keep saying it. That is the goal of DEI. Well, was the goal of DEI, was to make sure that everybody was being represented in all these different career fields. So the baseline of it is that you have to meet the qualifications for whatever job that you're supposed to be performing or you're applying for, whatever the case may be. But then after that, there are additional categories that it was making sure that were being filled so people aren't disenfranchised and or discriminated against. That's all it is. It's just to improve hiring practice, because let's face it, hiring practices Because let's face it, if we don't put any of these criteria, stipulations in place, people talk meritocracy all they want to. Eventually, we're going to get into a good old boy system. And I don't mean good old boy system as in just focusing on white males. I'm talking about a good old boy system where the entire organization that you work for, the entire office that you work in is run by, you know, the boys, right? Like, I know a guy or I know a person that put in a good word and I got hired for a job that I'm unqualified for, but since I know somebody, that's the reason why I got the position. And you say what you will, that's what a meritocracy ends up going towards. You might start off with good intentions, but eventually that's what it's going to end up at.
And now I'm so worried for so many communities who are now going to lose a voice at the table.
Just 34% of Americans in our CBS News poll said Trump should end DEI programs, but 64% of his supporters back the move. Trump is also encouraging the private sector to eliminate diversity initiatives, following McDonald's, Meta, and other big companies that have already rolled them back.
Yep, most Americans don't even want these cuts, but most MAGA types do, because somebody has convinced them that DEI means unqualified people are getting jobs that more qualified people should be.
And trust me, like, he's not saying it, but what they really convinced all those MAGA supporters, MAGA voters, is that it's black and unqualified. That's what DEI means, black and unqualified. Let's not go over the numbers and show that white women benefit more than anybody else for DEI initiatives. But black and unqualified is what they've convinced the average American that DEI stands for.
Doing. Yet why didn't any of these maggots freak out when Melania Trump was recently given a job that she was definitely not qualified for?
I don't want to ever hear any BS about DEI again. On March the 2nd, First Lady Melania Trump chaired a meeting at the United Nations Security Council. This is the first time a First Lady of any country chaired an official meeting at the United Nations. So I think now is a great time to review the resumes of some previous American First Ladies. Dr. Jill Biden has a doctorate of education from the University of Delaware. Michelle Obama is a graduate of Princeton University and Harvard Law School. Before her husband became president, she worked at a major law firm and was an associate dean at the University of Chicago. Laura Bush is a graduate of Southern Methodist University and has a master's degree from the University of Texas. Before George W. became president, she was an educator and a librarian. And finally, Hillary Clinton. And we all know her resume, but before Bill Clinton was president, she was a Wellesley graduate with a law degree from Yale. And she was a partner at a law firm when her husband became Arkansas governor. Now, none of these first ladies ever chaired a meeting at the United Nations. Melania Trump, on the other hand, attended a college in Slovenia for a few months before dropping out to pursue a modeling career. Now, the purpose of this video is not to criticize the First Lady. That's not my style, but it's to make a deeper point. These attacks on DEI are nothing but a smokescreen. It was never about merit. DEI has always been about making sure that qualified people.
Look, I'm obviously gonna watch him finish his point, but again, he's pointing out one example of hypocrisy, but you look at the majority of Trump's cabinet, right? So immediately after they run on, getting rid of DEI and appointing Elon Musk, to head DOGE and go after government spending and find us so much money. Immediately after they do that, they appoint Pete Hegseth the Secretary of Defense. What qualifies him to be Secretary of Defense? What, his time in the National Guard, becoming a lieutenant? No? Okay. What about Kristi Noem? What qualifies her to run Department of Homeland Security? Who else? What about Kash Patel? What qualifies him to run the FBI? No? Yeah, and Melania as well. So all these things. We're talking about DEI. We're talking about making sure that you're qualified for the job, having the best people for the job, and things like that. Oh, by the way, yeah, can't forget RFK and the Department of Health. Yeah, miss me with all that. Like, it's obviously there's a greater purpose. Again, y'all can read between the lines. I'm not going to give you my whole conspiracy theory.
Are not overlooked because of the community they come from or whether they have the right connections. People who criticize DEI are not trying to build a meritocracy. They're trying to ensure that those in power stay in power and nothing more. The pendulum will swing back towards valuing diversity. And when it does, you're going to want to be recognized as someone who is always on the right side of history.
And that is our goal right here, to be on the right side of history. So I feel obligated to offer up a level-headed explanation of what DEI is by a white male Christian who also happens to be gay and one of the smartest guys in our political world right now. Here's Pete Buttigieg.
First of all, I mean, DEI stands for diversity, equity, inclusion, right? So to me, we start by thinking, okay, what's the opposite of those things? The opposite of diversity is uniformity, right? The opposite of equity is inequity. And the opposite of inclusion is exclusion. And I don't know a lot of people who think we'd be better off if our lives had more uniformity, inequity, and exclusion, right? But I think that the part of why people have questions about it that I respect is they're not sure if they're worried about fairness, right? So to me, when you talk about some of these policies, the idea is to make sure everybody gets a seat at the table, especially if you know there have been systematic ways of keeping people from getting a seat at the table over the years, sometimes based on their race, on their religion, on their income, on their background, any number of reasons, sexuality, right? Like a lot of different reasons. And it's about making sure that what we do going forward is fair. And this can be an economic issue too. You look at something like redlining. A lot of homeowners, families, would-be homeowners, especially black families, couldn't get homes in certain neighborhoods where the property value started to go up. So even if that happened to a family, 50 years ago, their kids are living with the consequences of that now because their family has less wealth because they were kept out of a neighborhood where property values were growing, right? And so part of it's the idea that some of these things may have started a long time ago. Maybe nobody alive today is responsible for some of the injustice that has shaped what it's like to live in this country right now. But all of us now are responsible for doing something about it.
Yep, and this November, we're all responsible for doing something about the hate-filled felon we've got running this country straight off a cliff. So much.
Pete always makes good points. He kind of got into another deeper problem as he was going into that explanation that kind of got off of DEI, but still true regardless.
Like Pete just spoke words of wisdom, I would like to hear some wisdom from you. So please like this video, share it worldwide, comment below with your thoughts, and feel free to make fun of Joe Fox. He deserves that inclusion. In other words, everybody, get vocal. From the Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve podcast.
All right, so that's the end of this one. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Do y'all have a good understanding of DEI? Should we, get rid of it? Is it a problem? Has it caused issues in our society? Let me know what y'all think. Obviously, y'all know what I think. But yeah, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I'll holla at you.
Hating on my energy. I don't think you wanna be my enemy. I pop out, they go wild, so celebrity. Too busy winning, I forgot that I got frenemies.